Welcome to the Iowa REIA and Iowa Landlord Association, where we educate, advocate, and empower real estate investors.
What we're going to do tonight is a little impromptu, but one thing I really love about this is that something was presented today that if we'd had something on the agenda for tonight, I would have been wishing that I'd probably be wishing though we could take that off the agenda so we could talk about what was brought up by one of our members. And so without stealing all my personal thunder, or if the gentleman who actually started this today, now I don't know if you can see that screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Cash cow, alligator, opportunity, or catastrophe?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, and that's the name of tonight's event because one of our members brought up a property that has some unique characteristics to it, and I thought that I would just go ahead and take the liberty of making this the featured topic.
This is Craig. I'm here.
Hey, good, because then you can help keep me straight on this deal. Because a long time ago, back in the really old days, before 2009, more like in 1979, a friend of mine encouraged me to go to a breakfast club meeting. It was kind of like a REIA group meeting of the late 1970s and 80s. And they tossed around terms like cash cow and alligator. I don't know what are other terms. I know the cash cow is obviously it's a property that's just throwing off cash. The alligator's eating you alive. And then there's some other ones that's like a rising star, you know, that you bought something that you can turn into a cash producer, except you've got to take it through your plan. You know, it's got to go through your routine that you do to turn it into something that makes money. And the catastrophe, of course, is like Matthew Smith one time we had him as a featured speaker probably, a decade plus ago down at the AI building. And he came in and he actually brought his videographer with him. And some of you might have been there. Maybe you remember, Arnie DeWitt came, he sat in the middle of the tables, and Matthew put on his presentation, which is entitled, How to Lose $1 Million in Real Estate. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So just a little general business that I want to go through. National REIA is doing an eviction. A lot of this stuff pertains to landlords, but it may be applicable to you too. So National REIA is doing an eviction moratorium survey. They're trying to see how much it's impacted our members. In the discussion this at noon, one of the people brought up that Conlon companies said, well, they've got 25% of their units where the people are not paying rent. That's a pretty serious impact. So we're going to have to send that out here in the next couple of days, hopefully by early next week. And we'll combine that with our legislative priorities in the agenda for this coming session that starts January 11th. It'll be here before we know it. We also are a new member of the National Association of Professional Process Servers. I say it slowly because it's a tongue twister. But we do some process service, particularly for people that have needs for evictions in their rental property or money judgments. And then we also facilitate people that are doing garnishments and bank levies and things like that. So just as you have joined an association to improve your overall business, we've done the same thing here, but this is with a professional process server organization. And we're hoping that'll pay some dividends to our membership too. We continue to work with CIC for tenant screenings. I don't know if I've got anybody new to the call, but if you're not on board and you have any rental properties, we waive the setup fee, gives you access to a credit report, full-blown evictions check, and also criminal check. I will add that visiting with the vice president of CIC recently, he has told us that because of the limitations of what the Iowa Judicial Branch is doing with the data that they pass to CIC, you also need to go to Iowa Courts Online, because some of the criminal activity is not getting through, and that's all tangled up in what's called the date of birth redaction issue. If you're interested in more information on that, we can talk over a cup of coffee or over the phone. But I was just touching base on that. Tenant emergency funding options. This is for people that have tenants behind in their rent payments. There has been money from IFA, Iowa Finance Authority, and also the Iowa Housing Finance Authority. But I understand that from today, Linda Milam mentioned that Impact and Home Inc. are already out of funds. The city of Des Moines provided them a pool of $500,000 that they could use to help their challenged tenants. And the $500,000 was gone in like 4 hours. So, but they, it's contacting them. It may still be prudent if you have somebody that's in that situation. I'm also mentioning that we're moving this office to the house. We've been here for almost 8 years, at least 7 years in this particular property. It's a bricks and mortar location. But one thing COVID has taught us is that we can probably do 98% of what we do from our house. And so it just finally occurred to me that it might be time to say goodbye to the bricks and mortar location, which this big bullpen inside our office here hardly gets used. We just walk through it. It's like your living room at home. You go from your kitchen to your bedroom or to your TV room or something. You walk through the living room. Nobody uses them. They take up a lot of space. You paid a lot of money for them, but at least at our house, it's a walk-through room, and it's a pretty big one. We don't need that much space, and so we're working on that pretty diligently to try to make that happen as soon as we can. I don't think it'll be before the end of the year, but as soon as we can. And then finally, we may try to hit you up for a small donation to our PAC fund, because in order to keep a seat at the table in committee meetings and subcommittee meetings, it's always good to have made a donation to some of our leadership's campaigns. And so you might see that. And we're not asking for anything more than just you give till it bleeds, until it hurts. But after Christmas, after you got all the stuff that you need for your kids and stuff. Any questions on any of that? There's a mute and an unmute button on your screen. And I know Kim really loves talking. Kim, do you have anything?
I don't believe so right now.
Okay, did I miss anything?
Let's see. Well, you brought up the class at the morning meeting, but
yep, I'm going to cover that on the last slide.
Oh, okay.
I might let you cover it a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, then we'll move along. So, is Craig still on the line?
Yes, I am, Andrew.
Oh, okay. There's a Craig Wetzel too.
Wetzel. Maybe you mean Craig Wetzel.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think I see iPhone. So yeah, Craig Wetzel's on the phone. Okay, so this is the house he brought up to me today, and I knew a little bit about the house because I served some papers on the gentleman that was residing in this property. And this is at 1464 East 21st Street in Des Moines. I'm showing you a picture that gives one the impression that it needs some repair. In fact, if you look at this door, it says danger, and there's a City of Des Moines nuisance sign on it. I thought it would be good for us to discuss this because I want to know, before you run away from this project, I wanted you to see the house next door. And incidentally, I'd love to be able to minimize my screen a little bit. I have to see if I can do that. There we go. Does that help? I don't know how to get rid of that. Yeah, does that?
No.
Okay, so this is a house just to the south. And Craig may add a little bit of information to this, but this is a very good sized property. And it looks like they started out with a small house and expanded it, or they knocked the old one down and built a brand new one. Don't know which. So if this wasn't too appealing to you, begin with, sometimes it's good to look around the neighborhood and see, oh, it's always good, and see what else is there, you know, because here's somebody that has a substantial investment in this property for this neighborhood. This may be one of the finest homes in the whole neighborhood. And it's right to the south. In fact, there's a fence right here. That's the lot line. So, and this is from the view, if you were standing in that neighbor's driveway, looking over at this property. Now, Craig will maybe be able to tell us a little bit more about what he did, but this roof was brand new. This siding looks like it was brand new. There was a lot of work done to this property, and it was done fairly recently. So what I intended to do with this was basically to say we have a lot of collective wisdom on the line tonight. And I thought we'd go down through this list and then flesh it out and see if you had somebody that was, I don't know that you want to say that they're holding a gun to your head, but that's what Steve Ames says. If somebody was holding a gun to your head and you had to make a decision whether you had further interest in this property, how long would it take you and what would you look at? The considerations. So now some of you may say, well, I don't do rehabs, I'm not interested. Well, maybe you do wholesales, you know. But so there's the location consideration, neighborhood demographics. I keep changing the screen. Neighborhood demographics, existing problems. Are they cosmetic or structural? Then will there be adequate return on investment relative to your time and effort and investment of resources? For example, is this even the type of project you would consider if all the tea leaves align just right for you? It could be that it's a really good property for somebody else because you don't do that kind of property. Maybe you say, okay, I don't take on anything that's under $150,000 or, you know, at the beginning, or $200,000 sale price. Does it fit your model for what you would take on? And of course, determining the total scope of work cost. It doesn't have to be perfect on the first pass. In fact, a lot of people can do it in 20 minutes on a notepad. But you want to have a pretty good feel for what is the scope of work cost on this property. We're going to discuss all these things. The public nuisance issue. What will that do to your timeline prior to the start? Could this keep the competition away and slow down demand? Obviously, there's one thing that happens in today's world. It's, I hear stories like I heard 10 years ago when I made a decision to quit selling real estate. Presented an offer and there were 8 other people bidding on the same property. That's a lot of competition. They were driving up the price. If you're a real estate investor, is it good to have a bunch of competition? Maybe, sometimes it might be. But if you know that there's some significant knockout punch that's going to cause a lot of people to walk away from this deal, well, that may be an opportunity, or it could be a catastrophe. You don't know. You don't have enough information yet. But that public nuisance issue is something that hopefully we'll get Craig to talk to us a little bit about that. Full expert work, or would you do partial do it yourself? This one may be beyond simple cosmetic. It could be that it's, it's structural and you won't even be able to touch it yourself. But that is a consideration, because some of the people that are in the group and we work with from time to time actually have crews. And so they're looking for tough projects. Then number 8 is, do you have or know of a good remodeling crew? Oh, are they available? Craig Campbell ran into a good remodeling crew, and I think you've stuck with that same team for quite some time. You probably didn't start out as being a premier customer for them, but I don't know that you can keep them busy all the time, even now. I don't know. Craig would have to address that.
Yeah, if you want me to touch base on that, Andrew, yes, that is so true. You have to, one thing that I've learned is that you have to make sure that you've got something always in the pipeline, because in order to keep your crew working, they've got hot families to keep feeding too. And so you definitely have to make sure that you've got something always in the pipeline ready to go for that crew as they finish one property and move on to the, and get ready to move on to the next.
Yeah, and some of our people are so new, they don't have their first good remodeling crew lined up. It probably makes sense as you evolve your business, you may be able to get to the point where you have your A team, and your A team is always responding. But is it good to still have a B team? You just never know what's going to happen. So, if they happen to not be available, who would you go to? And then can you get a firm bid? This one is going to be challenging, but I think I don't know, we had Mario Fenu was signed up for tonight's meeting. I don't know if he came or not. I don't see his name on the list. But he's with United Services, and he and his company, they take on projects like this, but it'll be a building with 24 units in it. Or 18, 12, they take on huge projects. And this one would be almost too small for them, but they certainly could probably give you a pretty decent range, close to a firm bid on it. And then finally, this is brainstorming. We're going to talk about these for the rest of the evening, but needing external financing. What will that look like? Or is this a property you would wholesale? It's just, is it a cash cow? Now I'll let Craig introduce the property, since we've talked a lot about around it, if he's still on. Craig Wetzel. Yes, I see that he's there. At least his cell phone is there. It may have been called away and just left his cell phone. Mr. Wetzel, are you there? Okay, he appears to not be. Let's see. Can anybody hear me? Have I just been talking to myself for the last 3 minutes?
No, I can hear you.
Andrew.
I can hear you.
Okay, because I looked down at my Logitech little button, and you can maybe see that it has a red mark on it where the light is lit. It was flashing, so that's one of the things I don't like about this is so easy to turn off. But so those 9 areas, those are just triggers to get you all thinking. And I want to go through this with folks that we have on the phone tonight and see. I'd kind of like to get Craig to tell us what we need to do to open it up and get inside.
You can go look through the window.
I already did that. All the windows are
Craig.
they have shades on them. What was that?
This is Craig. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're starting to be able to hear you. Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you can you do something for about 5 minutes, and then I'll be off of the interstate here and able to talk to you.
Oh yeah.
I'll be home in my driveway in less than 3 or 4 minutes, but I don't want you to have all this road noise. So I'll be right there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So when I go through that list, and some of you have your own lists, maybe some of you are very professional, been doing this a long time. I just want to improve this. I want to create value for you guys that took time tonight to come to this. What else do we need to discuss on this? What, just to even justify driving across town to go inside it, because this one's a little more complicated. You've got to get a special key from the city even to get into the property. So.
No, when you said that star bit thing,
What is that all about? I don't understand that.
because this,
Well, apparently this board can be pulled off, but you have to have a special kind of screwdriver. It could be just a star screwdriver.
Is that what he's calling a star bit?
that's what he called
Yeah.
it on the meeting.
A star bit? Okay. I've got about 30 of those in my drill set.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking it is. I have them too, but they make it so it's a little more complicated than just a Phillips or a regular
They don't
flat
want
blade.
anybody coming up with a Phillips head screwdriver and taking those boards off. I've been into about 5 of those kind of houses. It's just, you need that bit, that special bit for those screws they have.
So you take out all the screws and then you can get inside the property.
As long as you have the owner's permission, I would say yes.
Yes.
Right.
But I am
Okay.
not an attorney.
Well, yeah, you have to touch base with the city too, but that's what Craig is going to give us some of his focused time in a little bit. Mr. Wetzel.
So what it appears here, Andy, is we're kind of walking through a deal evaluation on this property. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Well, it's an abbreviated one.
Okay.
Mostly it's just the initial due diligence to determine if you even want to go see the thing. Because if you want to go to see the thing and open the door, I want to do it and I want to help that happen. But I'm also trying to pretend like this is a 48-hour decision or less as soon as we possibly can get it done, because you don't want to be wasting your time on something that there's no future for you in it. So yes, deal evaluation. So what comes to mind for you, Tom?
Well, when I'm trying to do quick evaluations, first things we just need the basic numbers. What's the RV?
Mm-hmm.
What's the potential repair estimate? And when I say repair estimate, when I'm doing an initial analysis, like if I'm talking to somebody on the phone in my office and they call and say, hey, I want to sell my house, and we get into the discussion, and while I'm talking to them, I'm pulling up ARVs through all my multiple resources on the internet, and through a discussion with them, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what kind of repairs does the house need? So I can usually figure ARV pretty quickly within a few $1,000s, just within 5 to 10 minutes, unless it's a really in-depth kind of house. And usually from their description and what they tell me and the questions I ask, we can usually get a ballpark estimate of repairs. And when I say ballpark, I'm thinking $5,000 to $10,000, unless there's serious issues like, foundation and all that kind of stuff. So
This is Craig. I'm back. No noise. I'm good to go.
Hey, Craig.
Good. I was in West Des Moines when the meeting started at 6, and so now I'm over on the east side. I'm in my driveway, so I'm good. Actually, the north side, just off the interstate. So anyway, the history on this property is that the current picture on the assessor's page is when I bought it, and they haven't updated it. So I had a person that was in Ankeny, took care of his father for 15 years, and his brother came and took him to a shelter and sold the house out from under him. He was in his pickup with his dog when we found him. My sighting crew knew him, and they let him stay in a camper over the winter. So I employed him for 2 years. So I bought him a house, and we have an account that's called God's account, in which when my mother passed, we put in a lot of money, over 150, 60,000 to give away. And so we've been giving, but out of that account, we bought this house, and we totally rehabbed it. And so everything was brand new inside, and it had a city rental certificate. And we put him in there, and all he had to pay was taxes, insurance, and the utilities, about $500 a month. Well, he did that for most of 2 years, and then he got behind, and for 10 months he didn't pay, so we were out of this giving account supporting him. Well, in the end of that, we evicted him last October, and about a week and a half later, a garbage can started on fire about 3 in the morning. I was working on a house in Humboldt and got a call, and then of course when the insurance came along afterwards, I had to get all checked out to make sure they had to determine that I didn't do it. But obviously somebody started that garbage can. It didn't start on fire by itself. So it climbed the side of the house where that entry door picture is, where that board is, and entered the attic. And of course, smoked the whole house. And then it has a 5-foot crawl space underneath it. That's where the furnace is. I haven't entered that yet, but I assume from the fire department's water that we need to go down there and check the furnace. But the air conditioner outside is brand new, and it probably will still be salvageable. You talked about Mario. I used him from this group to give me a really nice, detailed, high bid so that I could settle with the insurance company. They started out and wanted to give me something that was unacceptable. And so we negotiated over a month or two with 2 or 3 bids and got them up to a point where we settled a couple of weeks ago. And then when they settle, they take $10,000 from your check and they leave it with the city. And the city keeps that as a holdback in case I walk away and they have to tear it down. Now, the house has a 1-car garage. It's sitting on a lot that I thought was residentially zoned until this afternoon. And I found out from Matt Palin from Creative Architects, who's part of our group. He may be on the call, I don't know. And I asked him, and we went out and met there, and we staked the backyard. You'll see some flags. I wanted to know what it would cost to make it from the 617 square feet to 1,000 square feet, because as a realtor, I happen to know that 1,000 square feet or more, a lot of people are searching for that when they're searching for a house to buy. They just start their search in the MLS at 1,000 and go up.
Yeah.
They sometimes don't look at less than 1,000 square feet. Now that doesn't mean this house wouldn't sell as is, fixed up at the 617 or whatever it is. I was getting ready to sell it after the eviction. We were going to go back in and clean it and paint it. And I would have put it on the market at 125 because I looked at everything else that's sold on East 21st, and a lot of 2 bedrooms that sell with a garage that sold at that point, and it would have been in near perfect condition. However, the fire happened. So back to Matt this afternoon. He called me up and he said, I wanted to know what it would take to put in the footings, and we have to take the roof off the house and re-roof it. and that would be down to the rafters, you know, resheet it and re-roof it. And I wanted to tie in an addition from the back. I wanted to know what that would cost, and I wanted to look in the MLS and see if it would make any sense. And he said it's zoned I-1, which is industrial. And so he can't get anybody, he's going to work on it tomorrow in the city planning and zoning to tell him what the setbacks are and the requirements when it's not a residentially zoned property. So that was not the case when I bought it. It's the case when they did their big redo this last fall and they rezoned all the properties in Des Moines. And because it's down there and Delaware is a street or, you know, over, or actually there is a parking lot that backs up to this property. So nobody on this big new goof up that they did on zoning can tell him what the setbacks are, so he can draw me a set of plans and I can determine what the price of the addition would be. But I already have determined that if you added an addition, it's about $40,000. And so would that increase the value of the cost of the house enough to make a profit? And I don't really think so, you know, and so I haven't told Matt not to draw the plans because I still want to determine what they are. In the meantime, because of the account that we have in our finances that owns the house, and if we took a mission trip to Africa and donated our time building a building or something, it would be the same as if we went into this property and donated our time. As far as my wife and I and daughter and our crew, I would be like a mission trip, because everything we do there, we're giving away once the property is sold. So right now we have the insurance settlement, and if I sell it to somebody or wholesale it to somebody, I'll get the 10,000. And then we have that in the account. That is about 25–30% less than we would have had in the account if the fire hadn't happened and I would have sold it. But nevertheless, it's an account that gives away. You know, we bought a motorcycle for somebody in Africa so they could get to their churches. We did a well in Guatemala so they could have fresh water. We did a sewing machine manufacturer, a sewing machine company in a building in the mountains of Nepal so they could make a living and learn how to sew on their sewing machines. That's the kind of thing the accountant does. Nevertheless, you don't need to know all that. You need to know about the house. So right now, you can take the board off with a star bit. You have my permission to look at it. You're going to walk in, you're going to get, you know, some soot on your shoes or whatever, but you're going to find that it's been smoked all the way through. You're going to find that the first 1/3 to 1/2, if we did it with our crews, we would demolish that, and then we would put up the new 2x4 walls and the rafters. Being as small as it is, that's not that big of a job. However, the demo job is probably the biggest part of it. Mario's bid and others have said that you spray a shellac to get rid of the smoke smell. I don't know what the rest of you know about that. I have to research that, but apparently that's what you do. Then you put the shingles back on, the sheeting back on, you re-insulate the attic, and you re-sheetrock. And then you're back in business. It has a small kitchen as you enter, and then the living room would be to the right as you go around the corner, a smaller bathroom, and then you keep going and it has 2 bedrooms. It has a 5-foot crawl space. The opening is something that you lift up. It was in the closet. Currently, the current tenant put it in the living room. I want to abandon that. I want to get the crawl space back to the closet. I don't think you want to lift the floor in the living room. When we redo our houses, we put down luxury vinyl planking because it's waterproof, and usually carpet in the bedrooms. In this case, the bedrooms are hardwood flooring, and so I would probably just refinish them as hardwood flooring. And you'll replace the windows in the first part of the house, and the back part, I doubt that you have to. The last half of the house, I think that's just getting rid of smoke damage and re-sheetrocking. And you'll have to pull a permit with the city. It's called a rehab permit to rehab the house. They canceled, obviously, my rental certificate. They put a poster on the door, "Do not enter, unsafe." And of course, that would probably be the case. You know, at the moment, it's not technically safe for anybody to inhabit or be in, but investors that want to look at it can certainly walk through it and look at it. So it
So the
sits on a
kitchen-
lot.
If
It
it
sits
could-
on a lot with a 1-car garage. And my estimation, I wanted to put it on the market before the fire happened at 125. I still think if it was rehabbed, it would be in that price range. But this afternoon at noon, I told somebody, you know, even lower, you know, maybe on a quicker sale. Depends on how you rehab it. My family does not rehab a property. We're very picky. I mean, we do everything to a property when we do it. And a lot of people have come to me and said, cut these corners, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. We just don't do it. That's just our philosophy and our character. If it needs it, it gets it. And it gets it at the high quality of trim and materials. But we probably shouldn't do that because it's probably cutting into our profit on every project we do, but that's what we do, you know? And so if I did that, I would expect to get the 120 to the 125 minus sales expenses probably. You know, I usually calculate those rough, quick calculation at 10%. So there's 10 or 12,000, you know, realtor's fees, whatever you're going to pay, you know, your closing costs. So, in my estimation, if I'm going to put it together and do that quote missionary work the way we are, I'm going to spend between 40 and 50,000, depends on what I do to it. I really believe in all my calculations that I'll be in and out in 40,000 because of our crews and our knowledge and our putting it together and getting it done. And, you know, we have a siding crew to come back in inside. We have a roofing crew to come back in and roof, and we know their prices. And so I just don't think on that square footage that I'm going to spend any more than $40,000. So if somebody bought it, I need 20,000 for it in order for me to give it up. And at that point, I'll be losing about 30,000 profit, but I have other projects to do. And so 20,000, but if I do it as a wholesale, I need to add a fee to that because I work for Keller Williams and they're going to make me list it. I just don't have any choice as a realtor with a license. And that listing can be a one-day listing as a you know, nobody else in the marketplace would know it except you, this group. If you're interested, I would do a contract with you, but it's going to have the 20 have about 7,000 added to it in order to cover a $5,000 fee, which would be donated to the group that, you know, that was with Tony, maybe, I don't know. But the point is, I have to have the other 2,000 to satisfy Keller Williams. Now, if I hold it and do it myself, you know, then I will be done, you know, at the 40 and sell it for the 100 and something, and that'll be more to that account, you know. But I'll take the 40 out of the insurance payment and, you know, and do that. So I thought that maybe I would just offer one to the marketplace and see what happened. I'm trying to net 20,000 after I give away the wholesale fee to somebody and pay Keller Williams. Any other questions?
You can unmute your phone if you want to ask a question. I always have plenty of questions.
Had you guys heard anything from me when I said all that or not?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I think well, because you're much more knowledgeable and I'm a teeny bit more knowledgeable, everybody else is maybe their first exposure.
My phone said I was muted when I said all that, but I wasn't, was I?
No, you weren't,
No.
but Tom has
No.
a question.
Yes, okay, Tom.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hey, Craig, it's Tom Milam. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, hello. We had bought one I live in and pulled in the driveway from you on Shawnee, remember?
Yep, I absolutely remember that house. You got mad at me because you found termites.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know what he knew.
Anyway, you were talking about the zoning on the property. And
Yep.
I guess I'm confused. I'm on the assessor's website on this property right now, and it's still got it zoned as R160. So
Well, that's what I thought it was, but Matt Palin told me it's industrial 1, so I don't know where he's getting that. So
yeah, I don't know who he
he
is.
must have saw an overlay map or something. I'll call him back and ask him because all of those houses on East 21st should be residential zone.
Right. I can see why he might think that because, well, even the property behind it, the 1501 Delaware, which is, I think, a trucking company or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this 1501 is probably
Yeah,
zoned.
1501 is commercial, a commercial residential district. I don't see any industrial zoning by the city, or, around it at all. I mean, there's industrial zones.
I'll call him and ask him.
Yeah, because that doesn't
That's
make
just a
whole lot
call
of
I got
sense.
this afternoon that confused me because I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, there's, and I'm no expert at zoning, but the assessor's office is not showing that.
Okay, so let's just add this up for a minute. If 27 is the number, and you guys even have to put in 50 because you don't get things done as more reasonable as I do, that's at 77. And if you decided you were going to make it 1,000 square foot house, you would be at about 107 or so, and then it's going to sell for about 140 to 145 as a full 3-bedroom, 1-bath house with the addition and the bigger bath and the bigger kitchen. So if you put it together at 27 plus 50, if that's what it's going to cost you guys, you're at 77, and you sell it at 110 to 112 net after commissions, then there's a profit there of 23 and 12, whatever that is, 36,000. If it's rehab for one of your investors. So I'm assuming that if you're going to wholesale it, you're going to find an investor and they're looking at profit of 30,000. Well, there it is. It's there. So that's what I'm walking away from.
Yeah, the thing about that is I didn't expect us to build Rome in a day, nor to do a full-blown analysis in just an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes that we'll spend here tonight.
No, I don't expect you to either. You need to go over there and go in it.
Well, and we need to do a few other things first, and that's why I was going to actually ask the group, is it an exercise in futility, or is it an exercise that could provide some benefit to people? Because it is a property that's for sale. Craig Wetzel knows the owner pretty well. He's got the inside track on the deal. He's already told us about probably what he needs to have to net out of it. And if you had the proposal from United, an actual scope of work or a hard quote.
Yeah, but they're up around that 100,000, but that's where they're at. I mean, they're down to every screw and nut and nail, and their prices are not where most of us could afford to hire them.
Well, one thing that concerns me, and some others may have other concerns, but this one is that the house to the south just sold actually a month and a half ago, October 29th, sold for 135,000. It is 1,132 square foot. I don't know if it has a basement. There are 3 bedrooms. Haven't discovered yet whether there's a basement. Oh, basement area, 604. So that that's what I was thinking, is they took that house, just like what you were thinking about doing. They expanded it out, and the footprint of that house used to be 604 square feet, this house. That's the one we're looking at in this picture, right here. That's the house, and they paid $135,000 for it. Now that's a hell of a house for $135,000. So this one next to it, which you own, I'm thinking with 617 square feet, you'd be more like you. I think today you said something about 108,000 was an after repair value. It'd still be pretty high in my mind, but I think you could still be conservative, be under 100,000, and that's what we need to do. We need to do the after repair valuation of the property. We've got to figure out a reasonable scope of work cost, but before you even do that, you want to figure out, well, what's the after repair value and what's the purchase price, and then the ballpark. You don't even have to drive over and look at the property, and you can rule it in or rule it out for further analysis. Those are that's my 2 cents worth. It shows good potential when you have a property like this right next to it that just sold for 135,000. But I wouldn't want to get carried away with making huge investments. My mission personally would be just get it back to where it was, get it rented out. And what were you saying the rent was? 850 or 800? You still there, Craig?
Yes, if you go to Rent-A-Meter and pull up for 2 bedrooms in that address area, Rent-A-Meter will give you the average rents. And I think that's what you're going to find.
Okay, and you said, what were that's right. You had a special circumstance with this person. It's kind of
I only asked in that case because he was working for us, and I only asked for taxes, insurance, and utilities, and he ended up not even doing that for the last 10 months. But the point is, I usually use Rent-A-Meter to get a good idea of rents, and 2 bedrooms are normally running in that price range and generally have people lined up down the street trying to get in them.
about 750 to 850.
Is that what it's saying?
I'm just ballparking it
at the same time, but I thought it was 850.
850.
Okay. Well, I've done an awful lot of talking, so I'm going to let somebody else do some talking. John Nash, are you on the phone? You on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening. It looks great. I mean, if I had some free capital to do that, I would.
Well, we're not worried about the financing at this point. This is the exercise of, if you had the capital, would you even want to do the deal? And how would you do it? So,
I mean, for me, I would. I'm brand new. I'm green in the gills, but I figure it out as I go, kind of thing.
Well, just keep in mind the demo's a dirty day. You're going to get dirty.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I'd have the Steve Ames approach to this property. You'll spend a nickel more than you have to. Tom, you're still there. Or Leslie. Leslie, you've had quite a bit of experience.
What are you asking?
We want your brilliance on the discussion here. What is this list exhaustive here that we have? I don't think it's everything, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, run your contractor through it before you do anything else.
Yeah. If you're going to use a contractor, and probably are going to, I think one of the things that's a kind of a knockout punch for the do-it-yourselfer person is that there's quite a bit of the not the sill plate, but the whatever the plate is that sits on the sill plate that's on the edge of the structure down here at the bottom, right below here. There's usually a 2x8 goes all the way around that house. That's pretty well burned out on this corner. And so there's going to be there might even be a need that this building has to be raised. And that's where you want to get somebody that's either a structural engineer or has extensive experience with lifting up a house, because this plate right here is pretty well burned out. So
What about the rafters inside? They look like they're burnt.
oh yeah, well, all the stuff above ground in my mind is just you either yank them and put new in, or you know, that's really straightforward kind of work. But it's this stuff that down here on the foundation where you're going to have to pull out some of those 2x8s.
Yeah, we had to do that on a house over in Valley Junction that had dry rot on the sill plate. We had to jack it up.
Well, on the fire damage, you're going to take off the whole third. I think you're going to demo the about a third of the house.
Yeah, basically from that window.
From the north side going south, and you're going to end up down to the foundation, the floor, everything. You're going to start over, and so you're going to have new construction for about a third of the house. But that's easy.
If nothing else,
that's easy to do because everything's out of the way, and the carpenter just comes in, and in about a day he's framed, you know, and you're starting to put stuff back, bring the electrician back in and stuff like that. So that on that square footage is not a very, very big amount of lumber. So I'm not trying to promote it, you know, to you guys. I didn't know we were going to talk about it this evening. I thought maybe the group wanted to talk about other things that I would be interested in myself, but I'm willing to talk about it. I'm just saying that sill plate, Andrew, has to be replaced because you're going to take everything above it down and be gone. You're going to be an open air above it. You know? It's
going to be just like your dentist pulling out a big, huge wisdom tooth out of the corner of that house. You're going to pull it out by the roots. All the way down.
The whole third of the house. I mean, like
cut the house almost in half.
Yeah, that's why I want to get inside it now, is to just see, okay, where can you stop pulling out old wood and sister some new studs in and some new rafters. I don't know. I don't know what the exact.
Everything for about 1/3 of it will be blue sky, plus the roof and all the shingles, in order to make them match in the city of Des Moines for a rental certificate now, will have to come off all the way across. Even though you're not demoing the other 2/3 of the house, you have to demo the shingles, and because you got to make them all match all the way back. So.
Well, that pattern's fairly new. I mean, you put that on within the last couple of years, didn't you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, we ought to be able to lace those in there. No?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you should be able. A good roofer should be able to match those pretty well. But they're getting to be sticklers, isn't it funny? And yet, I drive by some that somebody's rehabbed, and they talked about how you're going to have your clapboard siding was going to have to be in keeping with the architecture of the neighborhood, and they've relaxed that dramatically, because I'm looking at houses of 8 and 10 inches of exposed, siding, and in the clap or the lap is 8 or 10 inches, and the neighborhood is 3 inches.
I understand. I sat on the housing appeal board. We had a 3.5-hour meeting last night, and they are getting pretty strict on having all the paint match and all the siding match, and if it doesn't, they're requiring replacement, and they're not allowing any more of the inspectors on the rental properties for shingles to go over an existing layer. Every product in town now on a rental certificate into things has to be a 1-layer roof when the certificate comes around.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Crazy.
That was worth the price of admission to find out. Hadn't been told that yet.
We got next time we have an opportunity, we've got to fight that. I don't know.
That's need to get an
crazy.
Inspector to come back to your meeting and explain it all, because they're changing rapidly, very rapidly. I mean, I have a house that I'm building almost new on Cleveland, again, a termite damage. If you're at East 29th and Cleveland, the third house in on the south. I sold my extra lot to Madden. He built his house this summer, a split foyer, and he's under a different set of rules than I am because of the change, because when the change was coming, Madden Realty went through on all of their lots that they bought and they pulled permits on them, even if they weren't going to build right away. And so they got under the old rules by doing that, but the new rules are very much different and very strict. They told me when I pulled my permit I couldn't put vinyl siding on my new constructed house, that I had to put the whatever you call it, the other stuff. And
hardy
so
plank or
yeah,
yeah,
so
kind of stuff.
whatever it is, the other name I can't think right now, but I had to fight that for about a month and a half with Matt's help, and finally we got them to approve like a bigger front porch, like a 60-foot front porch instead of the little entryway that we had, and we have to put that other up and down siding in the triangle areas and stuff like that. So I mean, and I have to put a bush in front of the air conditioner. You can't have the air conditioner be able to be seen from the street anymore.
So does that mean I won't be able to go buy houses and tell which ones contractors did because an investor just because we don't have that same tan siding on everything?
So I'm just saying it's costing, and by the way, for those of you in this group, the cost of lumber at the moment due to COVID and due to some of the 20% tariff coming out of Canada is actually up a little bit. Like a fence panel, a 6x8 panel to do some privacy fencing was $49, I think, at Menards last spring. It's $89 today for one panel. So.
Yeah, we're hearing double or triple of what normal cost is from contractors.
Right, and I'm getting caught on that on a new construction here. So I had a trust bid last spring if I'd have done it then for this house on Cleveland at $4,700, and I got it back tonight, and he told me, Craig, it's exactly double that.
Oh, so, jeepers.
More, 9,000, 8,000, 9,000 for the trusses.
Just for the trusses?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, so we could beat this. We could beat this dead horse to death, but the reality is that the next step would be we can look at these pictures all night long and we can have a big conversation, but nothing will impact us as much as going through the property. And so
okay. That's up to you. If you want to go, you have my permission.
So that's all we got to do. Show up there with a set of star bits and and a drill, and
just take off the one board on the steps there, and you're in. So
okay, and then when you leave, you got to put it all back up.
Well,
obviously,
you're supposed to. I mean, it would be.
Don't leave anybody inside.
Keeping me out of hot water, I suppose. If there's a I don't know his name, but there's a guy that drives around in a pickup for the city, and all I know is he's pretty heavy set. Maybe some of you know him, and he goes around looking for all the nuisance stuff, and he just gets real joy out of putting placards on people's houses, you know. So.
Well, this is. I talk a lot. This is a very intensive project. If you're starting out, probably wouldn't be a good idea to do this one. But if you had a team or if you had a really good contractor that really knew what they're doing, but the problem is no contractor is going to take this on without having adequate margin in their profits for the unexpected. And so, like, it doesn't surprise me a bit when you say United Services was looking at this and they were given a bid at close to $100,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe a touch over. I'm not sure. But they're a different type of company than what my company is. You know, in other words, when I say I can go in there for the prices I quoted, I actually can prove to you that I can get it done for what I quoted, but I would think that you guys are going to want to consider wholesaling it and making a fee, you know, and
Well, certainly in the Tony Young's group, we should have considered that.
and have somebody come in that is really looking to do the type of rehab that it needs, and you're gone and you're out and it's closed, you know. So
Well, can you tell me if we take this door off, will we be able to walk in the kitchen or in the living room, or is that there's a just a big hole?
You're gonna enter the kitchen when you take that off.
Oh, that's the kitchen right there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought the kitchen would be on the back side, but no.
No.
Oh.
You enter the kitchen, and then as you turn to the left, you're in the living room. Off to the right is a bathroom. Straight ahead down the hall a little bit is 2 bedrooms. So.
Bring a flashlight.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose you could give a flashlight. The daylight's still coming through the window. Well, some of them are boarded, so I suppose a flashlight would help you.
Well, and they have, they have these shades, these black shades over all that you can't even see inside. I don't know who did that.
I don't either. I guess the tenant.
Well, the city might have done it too to keep people from vandalizing the place further. I don't know.
I don't know, but I want to bring something to the group's attention regarding lights and flashlights. It's the highest price thing they sell, and you'll probably find them at Home Depot as well. But Menards has a 4,000 lumen light. I paid $45. I see they're down to $29.95 now, but it's rechargeable with a USB cord. And I used those 4,000 lumens in a crawl space the other day, and it lit up the whole thing. And it lit up probably 40 feet across it. So they're fantastic lights, and they're rechargeable with a USB cord.
Thank you.
There's another thing worth the price of admission tonight.
Yep. Is it big and long and heavy so you can use it as a weapon too? That's what our flashlight is.
Yeah, it is big enough if you want to use it as a weapon. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cop flashlight.
Tom says it's a cop flashlight.
Could be. I don't know. But I certainly.
Minneapolis, you might. Sorry, Craig.
No, that's fine.
You're going to need that sooner rather than later, according to the news I saw today.
Yeah, I saw the same news, and by the way, I bought 2 of the flashlights, so I have 2 of them. While one's charging, I still have one. So
yeah, wow, isn't that something? I mean, they are just starting to.
I haven't seen the news today.
They cut what was it, Craig? 80 million from their budget.
Yeah.
In Minneapolis, from the police department's budget. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I'm just have no interest.
But I'm hearing from others too. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it sounds good it sounds good to some people, but yeah, what happens when your house gets broken in and there's somebody, you know, who you gonna call?
Better hope you don't live in DC where they banned your guns. You then better be packing.
That sounds like Kurt.
That's me.
Yeah, that's dude.
Yep.
Well, I know that's off. I know that's off subject. And why don't if you guys are wanting to talk about anything else tonight, this is just something that's out there. I'm not trying to monopolize with one of my properties a whole meeting. So.
No, but I'm trying to, because it's a very good topic, and if you can assess something like this in a fairly quick period of time to determine whether you want to keep going, digging deeper and deeper into the thing, is it could be that for some people it's a nuisance house, and maybe they don't want anything to do with it. For instance, there's a final inspection if you were to doing the work, and also you probably have to do a proposal to the city of Des Moines. You have to sit down there with your plans and get them all approved for what you're going to do. There's more intervention from the city.
Actually not.
Really?
I just have to apply for a rehab permit due to the fire. And then the only inspections are that the framing inspection, he told me on my Cleveland property today, he was out there because we're pouring concrete. He said that he won't be back again until the framing inspection. And I said, when is that? And he said, after the mechanical, the plumbing, and the electricians are done, then I come and inspect the framing before you hang sheetrock and insulate. And so that framing inspection will be part of it in this case. And then the electrical will have their own inspection from the city, and the plumber will have his own inspection from the city. And I guess you'll have one if you replace the furnace. I don't know about the furnace. It was brand new 2 years ago, whether the smoke affected it, but I know the air conditioner on the outside looks like brand new, so I don't expect to replace it. Then the framing inspection happens. You put your sheetrock together, paint it, put your flooring in, or refinish the hardwoods, whatever you're going to do. Put your cabinets in the kitchen. I mean, you only need 4 or 5. It's that small of a kitchen. And put your bathroom fixtures. You know, the plumber have already done that. So you're done. And then if you're going to rent it, you get a city rental inspection, and then you get an inspection from the permit that you pulled to rehab it. But you don't have to set a set of plans in this case. I mean, it just is what it is, unless you're going to build an addition on it. Because I thought if I had all the shingles and the plywood off on the back side, that I would just add the rafters for the addition while I was doing it. But I don't think that's the case at the moment. In my case, I'm going to offer it like this. If it doesn't disappear, then I will probably get to it to demolish it and do the construction probably after this Cleveland job is done. And I expect to sell, well, actually the Cleveland job is already sold, it looks like, and I haven't even poured the concrete yet. It's amazing. And you know, the Caldwell banker lady brought the offer this afternoon. So it, you know, at an infill house at $220,000. So,
Oh,
you
wow.
know,
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing at what they're selling for. But my point is this, I'll probably get to it next spring or summer, and it'll just set. Now, you told about the nuisance. That guy that I told you about in the pickup truck, and I described him, he told me that it'll take a year or a year and a half for Sue Ann Donovan to get around to placing this property on actual nuisance. He just has that poster on the front door. And at that point, then I have 12 months to get it done or negotiate a deal with the city. So it's not a nuisance yet, and it's going to be a long time before it is, according to the way they're operating. But they do post it, but it's not officially on a nuisance list that you can go down and pull up properties that are a nuisance. At least that's what I'm told. I don't have any certified letters in the mail stating that I only have so many months to fix it. None of that exists. So.
Well, there's actually a list online for nuisance properties now that the city of Des Moines maintains.
Well, is it on there? Because I never sent me anything.
Yeah, I don't know. We're not going to dig into it. I'm just saying, I know I've seen that list before, and it's online.
Well, about a year and a half ago, I bought one over by Drake, and I think the members that bought it were from this group. I wholesaled it to them after I did quite a bit of work on it, and then they finished it. But it was a nuisance property, and I had to put a new basement under it, and I was about $20,000, and I was facing 6 months left to do everything else that needed to be done, and I had other places to go and other things to do, so I wholesaled it off, and the people finished it, and you know, it looks beautiful now. But I knew that if I got past the final date on it, that they could come in and knock it down after I spent $40,000 on it, you know. So I didn't want to do that, so I wholesaled it off. So, but that's the nuisance. You got to be careful and meet their deadlines, you know. But this one doesn't have a deadline that I'm aware of. So I've received no certified letters from the city of Des Moines. So I was a little ticked off that I received a bill for board up for $450. I would have boarded it up myself, but I guess they did it the night of the fire while I was in Humboldt. So it's only like 3 boards. So.
Big rip off.
how can I help you on determining how to determine costs on a house? What else can I do? Because I mean, most of you on this call have done several yourselves, right? So.
I've never done a fire damaged house. I got all I can do just trying to finish the new construction for the office that I'm going to be moving into. So the thing that always stops me up is that I want to do all of it myself. The electrical, and not the HVAC. I wouldn't do the HVAC installation, but the plumbing and the electrical is so straightforward, and the framing is fairly straightforward too. But that isn't how you can do this house. I think that it's got to be, fleshed out with having the crews do the entire project, or at least 90% of it.
Correct. And Andrew, you can't, on this addition to your house for your office,
yeah,
you can't do the plumbing and electrical yourself either. I was in a house just today because on the Facebook list of things for sale, he had some PEX and some plumbing pipe for sale that I thought I could use on my new construction. It's at 1121 21st Street. So the owner met me there and I went in and I can't use what he had. But I said, what happened here? And he said he had it all plumbed. And the inspector came along and said, you didn't pull a permit and you used the wrong color glue when you put the PVC together. So all of his PEX and all of his PVC was tore out and laying on the floor because the city made him tear it all back out and go get a licensed plumber. So you can't do any electrical or plumbing in the city of Des Moines now without licensed electrician or licensed plumber.
Really? Even as a homeowner? Because I pulled permits on this, both the electrical and the plumbing, a long time ago.
You pulled permits as the homeowner?
Right. And you had to go down and take a special test. Now that could have changed because, hey, they are really cracking down on things, but boy.
No, I mean, you took a test as a plumber?
No, I took a test as well, you can do your own drain waste vent and your own feed lines. There wasn't even a need for a test on that. That you had to have the inspector come.
Yeah.
You had to have the inspector come, but I mean, this is ancient stuff, though. I mean, we're talking about addition I've been working on for a long time.
I know. I didn't know that as the owner that I could take a test, but I would fail it anyway, probably. So.
Yeah, there was a period of time when you could install your own sub panels and stuff. I mean, it's the same inspector. The same inspector comes out, whether it was done by a licensed plumber or it was done by the homeowner, but you had to take a test and pass it. But what I'm saying is that isn't an option on this house. So I'm much more concerned about this.
I was just informing you that I was in a house this morning at 1121 21st Street, whereby the owner had to tear all of his plumbing out because he didn't hire a licensed plumber.
Man, and that's the owner, and it was an owner-occupied house? Or was it
he had it all stripped down inside. He claims he occupies it, but on the other hand, all the lath and plaster was out of it, so I'm not sure. So.
Well, yeah. Well, those are issues, absolutely, and you have to stay up on it. I'm just finishing up work that was done. 90% of it was done 6 or 7 years ago, yeah. But I'm old school. I'm old. You can see my beard is white.
Yeah, you're trying to be Santa Claus.
Well, we're actually working on that from a legislative point of view.
Santa Claus?
I just think it's criminal. No, I think it's almost criminal that they make landlords hire licensed everything. Hire a licensed electrician to put in a new electrical circuit for an outlet. It's ludicrous.
Multi-residential.
Yeah.
Trying the thing.
I did.
In Chicago,
but it is what it is.
In Chicago, they won't let you do any work with unless you have someone who is a member of the union working for you too, which are usually the quote unquote licensed people. And I'm wondering if that's the road they're starting to take everything down.
I don't know, but a year ago in a small town in northern Iowa, Eagle Grove, that's up by that new Prestige pork plant, I pulled a permit on one of my houses to with the state electrical board to have the state inspector come because it hadn't had electricity on because it was a foreclosure for some years and Mid-American wouldn't turn it on. State inspector come, gave me a list. I hired an electrician, did the list, but then I didn't do anything for the last year and 3 or 4 months. I just let it go because I was on other projects. And so now when I want the state inspector to come back for a final, they won't come unless I have a licensed electrician pull the permit for $35. And then the state inspector will come. And so that happened. And now I've gutted the kitchen and I've gutted the bathroom and I'm ready to put back new ones. The state inspector insists on coming after I get the kitchen and the bath in to see if I did GFIs. And the licensed electrician has to do the GFIs. I know they have to be done and I can't put them in. Now I have to hire a licensed electrician and have the state inspector come to see that they're in. That's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah, well, I think it's been that way for quite a while if it's a non-owner occupied property. But
Okay.
let's do this. Rather than me speculating, let's use this as a project for some folks if they're interested. Now, some of you are more seasoned veterans. You got more important stuff to do than traipse around in a house that you're not even interested in personally. But some of these questions that come up, it's really good to refresh. What is their current status of affairs down at the city of Des Moines? Because, you know, they don't send out a front page ad or an article on the Des Moines Register and say, oh, by the way, we're getting ready to sabotage your ability to live a lifestyle that you can afford. Because now every time you want to have somebody fix something, like we're getting ready to replace a washer and dryer. My wife doesn't believe in fixing stuff. She'd rather buy a brand new one. And I told her, I said, well, beyond, in the back end of that dryer, there's a vent that goes out through the wall. I had to re-drill that hole for the second one that we got. We had one that was a Bosch at first, and we had an ASCO, and now we'll get something else, and she'll get something that won't fit, and I'll be drilling a big hole through the back of the house again. And it's like, if I have to pull a permit to do that, man,
No, I don't think you do. As an owner occupant, I don't think you do there.
And
well,
just FYI on that house you were talking about, Greg, 1121 21st Street.
Yeah.
FYI, that's a 10-unit apartment house.
No, it's a single family now.
It was maybe.
It's listed on the assessor side as having 10 units in it.
Right, but it's a single family now, I'm telling you. So
Okay.
Yeah.
they're
See
gonna
why
live in it.
It's huge.
Yeah, because I could see why the inspector would say, well, you can't do this. You're not an owner occupier because it's a 10-unit property.
Yeah, I was there this morning. It's a single family. They've gutted the whole thing down. They're going to live in it as a single family. So,
Okay.
Wow. On 21st Street?
yeah.
Good for them. There has been some investment in that neighborhood, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, they got the outside looking gorgeous. So.
Yeah, I think there's one around 23rd in University that's on the southeast corner that somebody bought years ago from Steve Lippeback that was a 10-unit apartment, and they converted it back to single family. It's absolutely beautiful house.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of investment going on in that area. Okay. Anybody else have some questions? We're going to go through this haves and wants. Anybody have something they want to share, or they have a need? That's a want. We'll start with the first person that raises her hand.
Well, Andrew, I don't mean to monopolize anything, but I have a story when all this is over and the other people are done talking. The story I shared with you earlier might be a good one for this group. So about what happened today. You remember the one I told you about where the lady died?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We'll close out with that. Well, sometimes having in once can go a little longer, but other times people are timid about saying they have something they want to share or offer the group.
Right. That's why
we're
I
going to
said
call
I would
it.
wait till the end. So.
Andrew?
Yes, sir.
I remember one time before when you were talking about wholesale, you had a list of objectives typed out. You happen to remember what I'm talking about? It's a list of requirements to fulfill a wholesale, basically. I was wondering if I could possibly get that off of you if you happen to remember it or have it. This was probably like 4 months ago-ish. It was a while ago when we went over it.
Okay. Well, we might be able to go one better than that, but we'll have to do a little digging. I think I have Chuck Hendricks' presentation on video. I think that's right. Chuck Hendricks is an attorney. So what are you talking about with the wholesale transaction? You talking about the legal technicalities of the process, or what?
The whole process.
The whole process, the whole enchilada.
Yeah, you showed us. I think this may have actually been the meeting that I showed up in person for.
At the Scout Center?
Yes.
Okay. Well, somebody that doesn't have brain fog as bad as I do will have to remember that. Maybe Kim will. She and I will talk about it tomorrow. We'll see what we've got.
But I could take Chuck Hendricks' presentation as well. That would be very helpful.
I will make a note here because
that's from the closing side of things, but you know, from actual meeting with people that want to sell and then finding buyers, it's two different other things that, you know.
Oh, I missed that part. That was just the closing side of it.
Okay, you just wanted the closing side. Okay.
Well,
I'll take it.
No, you're looking from lead generation to finding buyers, the cash buyers, or well, we can talk. I'll make a note here, Josh, to give you a call and try to get more particulars from you of what it is you're actually looking for.
Okay. I have a new phone number.
Okay. Sweden is what I have. Sweden. Yep. All right. And phone number?
I don't have it memorized yet. Sometimes
it's that new. Oh, cool.
Okay. Yeah, it's 515. 552. 2601.
Josh, is that different than the one on your business card?
Yes. Yes.
Is the one on the business card still valid?
Nope, that phone is gone.
All right.
So, and what time of the day is the best time to get you? Evenings, mornings, noons?
Evenings would be preferable. I'm working over at Facebook from 6:30 to 3 right now.
Congratulations.
Oh.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So, and you want to just talk about some details on wholesaling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Those are fantastic hours, Josh. That gives you the rest of the afternoon and evening to do things. So
it does, yeah.
Anybody else? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Got my hand up.
You got your hand up. Oh, okay. There you go. Dude wants to talk.
So as part of the Tony group, we made a bunch of lists of properties to go knock on doors. And I knocked on a door and asked the lady that answered if she'd be interested in selling her house. And she said, yep. I got her number, I got her name. It was about 4 weeks ago. I told her I'd call her back next week. That didn't happen yet. Because when I did the title search, I did send an email out to the rest of the group asking about, hey, what happens when there's a previously recorded sales agreement from a year ago? If we try to buy the property, do we actually have to satisfy the previous potential buyer's sales agreement with the owner? Or is there something we need to do about that? And the reason that's a big deal is I've heard some people say not lawyers, the judges, if it goes into a courtroom, will disregard those most of the time. But then I've heard other people say those things will cloud the title forever.
Well, you have to get a release.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it either has to have been released by the terms of the purchase agreement, or if it's a memorandum of sale or a memorandum of an option, you just have to investigate it. That should be a recorded document, though.
It is.
You should be able to get it.
I have it. I've got it. I didn't know I didn't know how to address it.
When did it expire? Because all sales purchase agreements have a closing date. It must have expired, right?
Well,
I'm not sure. I'd have to take another look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cloud on the title that has to be removed. Usually, that's what you call it.
Yes, it has to be released, but there must have been a point in time that says on or about a closing date, and they use the words on or about in the purchase agreements. But on or about certainly doesn't last 6 months afterwards, you know. So.
Well,
there could be an option for the next 5 years or something, though. But they would have normally had to have an option fee that they would have had to have tendered, and they can't have. Well,
if that were my contract, I would say they breached it, and I could find an attorney that would go after the money.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's.
All right, I'll take another look at the document that was recorded and see if there's an expiration on that.
That'd be great. Love to know more about the details of that as you progress along.
Okay.
I'm just not sure. I'm sure how you would get a release. I mean, are you going to go draw it to the guy's attention that his document is expired, or find out if he's no longer interested and get him to sign a release? Or I'm not quite sure how to do that.
My initial impression was I was going to have to call them and talk to them to get them to sign something. I just didn't know what we needed to do. And when I sent the email out to the rest of the group, nobody responded to it.
I never saw it. So.
Okay.
Are you looking to update the abstract when you purchase it?
We were looking to put in a sales agreement with the owner and then wholesale it.
Okay,
but somebody's going to update that abstract.
Yeah, bringing that abstract up, it could come up there that they have to have it released, because we've had to clear stuff out or get releases and satisfactions of stuff that there's no way it could possibly still be good because it was 20 years ago, and we know it had to be paid off or they would have foreclosed, but we still had to get documentation verifying that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I used to have friends back when I was selling real estate at People's Abstract, and I would take it there, or at least call them and say, hey, could you take a look at this document? It looks like it might be a cloud on the title, and I'd be glad to pay a consulting fee to see, because you may just have to get an attorney to draw up a quiet title statement.
Well, I think some attorneys that I've dealt with in this case would probably just do an affidavit of some kind. You know?
But it quiets the title. Is what I'm saying. Is it's a way to make that a moot point.
Yeah, the affidavit would say the purchase agreement had expired 6 months ago, and et cetera, and file that. You know. So.
Okay. I'll start digging again on that.
That's a good one, though. Thanks for bringing that up, because those are things that as a wholesaler, you can have somebody that's very anxious to sell. They may not even be the principal. They could be just a person that answered the door and said, "Oh yeah, I'd like to sell." Maybe they don't even own the house. It could be that their aunt Skippy owns the house and they can't stand Aunt Skippy. But anyways, I'm just saying there's so many.
We've actually run across that before.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's just all kinds of interesting people out there in the world. But doing that title search quickly really makes a lot of sense,
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed your email on that, but when somebody says they want to sell a house in this market, you need to get back their or the group does, or whatever is going to happen, because somebody else is going to come along and then we'll find out that it's no longer available.
I agree. And I've been dragging my feet on it because I didn't know what to do. And so I've been trying to get organized enough to get to one of these meetings, and I missed last month's. So
Yeah, I understand.
Come on, you Kurt. No.
Yeah, I've lost a house within a matter of 4 hours
Oh,
of not getting back.
Because they went and signed up with a realtor?
or
Not on that particular case. No, they sold to one of my competition within a matter of 4 hours from the time between the time they left me a voicemail and the time I called them back was 4 hours. Within that 4 hours, they signed a purchase agreement.
But I've also been on the other side where I was at personally.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's enough for everybody. Don't worry about it.
But there is that clause in your purchase agreements that says time is of the essence.
Yep.
That is a reminder when that happens to you. It's a little tune-up that, oh my God, there are people that move faster than me sometimes. Yep. So yeah, you almost always have to assume there's somebody else that wants it, especially if it's a sweet little prize that you got. You're thinking, oh yeah, this looks good. Well, somebody else will recognize that too.
And I guarantee you, anybody that's marketing to any list, I don't care what list it is, if you've got that list, so does somebody else. More than likely, so does 10 to 20 somebody else's. And they're all mailing to them.
Advertising on Facebook and whatever. Yep.
Okay, well, we beat the haves and wants quite a bit. Any new or old business? The only new business I have is about the training at the bottom of this thing. Anybody else have something they want to bring up before Christmas? I would just say that one of the things that we're looking at here next year is a lot of turmoil in the real estate business, potentially. Whenever this COVID eviction moratorium is lifted, there'll be some people that are unable to catch up their payments on their rental property. There's been a foreclosure moratorium too, but eventually that will also be lifted. And so I think there's going to be a lot of turmoil in the industry this next year. I don't know if it's all good or bad, but it's just going to be a lot of action.
There's going to be several thousands of evictions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just in Des Moines, you're saying. Yeah.
I don't know about Des Moines, but I know that there's going to be a ton of landlords that are small landlords that can't afford to have the non-payment, and they're going to be putting their properties on the market. There's going to be a whole bunch of bank-owned properties again. A lot of sheriff sales going on. There's just going to be a whole mess because of this thing. And this is not the first thing that's coming. I mean, it's the first thing that's made a mess in this country, but it's not the last thing that's going to come along. It's not just one pestilence. There's going to be other ones. But right now, it's been a long time since the cycle.
Right.
It's the cycle is several years overdue from taking a dip, and there's going to be a lot. If cash is going to be king, as far as financing is concerned, if you can come up with any or come up with some private money investors, you're going to be able to find some deals in this next year. I agree with Andrew. There's going to be some really sweet deals.
Isn't it?
Well, it's just going to be a good time for you to sharpen that axe again of, like, once upon a time, people worked short sales. I haven't heard people working short sales for a long time, but that's going to be back in vogue fairly soon, whether we like it or not. So anyways, a good time to keep your axe sharp, and that's about all the new business that I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, it's just going to be a very challenging time. Don't know what else to say. We are going to have a training session. Now, this primarily relates to people that are buy and hold investors that want to be landlords or property managers. And, I did this wrong. Oh, let's see if you can do it twice, Andrew. There we go.
You did.
There we go. Okay, so we're going to have a class. Kim Jarnigan, some of you know Kim pretty well by now. She's holding my feet to the fire, and she says you're going to have to get up in front of the group and do a little training on January the 8th on lease and the addenda. These are the forms that we use in the association, and also on e-filing. These are two-hour courses, and then Christopher Warnock is going to review 562A in fine-tooth detail, and also do a law update on some of the latest happenings in the court systems on that. So it may not be something that works for you or appeals to you, but you may have a friend in the next couple of weeks. You run across somebody that is a landlord. You could just mention that class is going to be happening on January the 8th. Okay, well, that's all I have. And we see Jordan's iPhone here. Did you just join us, Jordan?
I did, yeah. Can you see me?
We can't see you. We can see it says Jordan's iPhone.
Oh, here we go. I think this will great. How about now?
Yes.
We sure do. Now we see it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry I'm so late. Been meaning to connect with you guys. I bought a property out in Bethany, Missouri, and I'm going to be out there. So just looking to network and continue to learn from the group. So yeah.
Super.
Okay, so you're located here, and then you're going to work in Missouri for a little while on flipping the property, or what are you going to do?
I actually live in Rhode Island. I'm going to be out living in Bethany. I'm looking to be in Missouri and Iowa in terms of my investments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna flip it or rent it or what?
So it's actually an old hotel, and I'd like to hold on to it. I'm looking for a tenant though. It needs a little bit of rehab. The first floor is ready to go, so I'm thinking of like a sober house or Section 8, something like that. But if there is an investor out there that would considering some type of partnership or wants to chat, I'd love to talk.
We'll plan to come to our next meeting and fill us in on a little more of the details. But
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You bet. Well, okay, let's see. My watch says it's 7:47. I promised this would go to at least 7:45. And unless something else needs to be discussed, we're going to call it a day.
Andrew, when will you be putting out the registration form? I'm assuming at some point for that training on January 8th. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll probably have it up by end of business tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That would be the goal.
Okay.
I think we might have to get one of those classes approved too. So we're restructuring it a little bit. But I think we have 2 of them approved. We got 1 more to go.
Okay. Nope, and I'm just wondering. I was just asking.
Well, it's just an excellent place to network too with people. You get to find out some of the people who are actually buy and hold, people who maybe they aren't a bird dogger themselves. Maybe they're not into acquisition. They're just into, hey, if I can find a place and you bring it, or if you can find a place, you bring it to me. They want to buy it and hold it. But you just feel a lot of different kinds of folks there and great opportunities for networking. In addition to learning.
It's not in person, it's Zoom.
Well, yes, it's on Zoom. So okay. Well, with that said, I'm going to say happy holidays to everyone.
Thanks for watching. We hope this production empowered your business. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more great content. And don't forget to join us in person for powerful networking and priceless information at our next live event. For all event information, please go to our website.